Buying two houses at 22 may look and sound impressive, especially online, but I'm here to tell you what no one else will and what really goes in behind the scenes. I'm Hannah, I'm a realtor, I'm a young wife, I'll be 23 this year, and my husband and I bought our first house October of 2024 at 21, and then our second house November of 2025, just over a year later at 22, and we will be at 23 this year. So I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you find this video helpful and this is content you enjoy, I would love if you would like and subscribe. So let's get into it. The biggest lie people tell you is that if you can afford the down payment, you are ready. That couldn't be further from the truth, especially if you don't want to end up house poor. What is house poor? It's basically when someone saves all their money to purchase a house, they put all their money in the house, and then they don't have any money for everything else that comes along with the house. So for example, when you are purchasing a home, you have your down payment, then you have your closing and lawyer fees. So I'm in Canada, so all the numbers and the things that I'm talking about is reflective of where I live. But make sure to consult with a mortgage broker for accurate information, as this is not financial advice, but solely personal experience. So where I live, when you are purchasing a home that you are going to live in, generally you are going to pay 5% down payment, except if the house is over $500,000, you pay 10% on every amount over. If you are purchasing a house for $550,000, you pay 5% down on $500,000, 10% on $50,000. So that's an extra $5,000 on the other 5% on the $500,000. Okay. And then 1 to 2% for closing and lawyer fees. So if your house is $500,000, you're paying anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000, usually around in the middle, for closing and lawyer fees on the home. Then you have property taxes. Unfortunately, these are usually a lot more than expected. I remember when we got our first property tax bill, we were like, oh my gosh. And in the home that we just purchased recently, our property tax bill was outrageous and so much more than we had anticipated. So you have to factor in all these costs, because I promise you, they may shock you and it's not fun. Another thing that most people don't think about is home insurance. Home insurance can be extremely expensive. I had quotes of up to $300 a month. So I highly recommend that you shop around and you call everyone you can to get a quote, because we don't want you paying more than you need to, because it's just such a slap in the face once all these bills pile on. You have your mortgage, your heating costs, your property tax, etc. If you are purchasing your first home, you're likely going to need to factor in the cost of furniture. To furnish a whole house, you're looking at probably $10,000 plus. So that's on top of your down payment, your closing and lawyer fees. You need to make sure you have money to furnish your house, or you're gonna be sitting in your house with camp chairs in an empty house, and that's not gonna be fun. A great place to look is Marketplace if you're just starting out and you're okay with lower end furniture, to get you through until you have more money saved up. Another huge thing is repairs. Once that house closes, it is your responsibility. So if that house closes on Monday and on Tuesday your fridge breaks, go buy a new fridge. This actually happened to us the first week, and our first home, our washer actually went. So our first home we purchased, the house is about 13 years old. We still own it and it is our rental right now. And the second house, which is the one we are in right now, it was a new build. We had to buy all appliances for a 2-apartment home, upstairs and down. So that's another thing. If you're buying a new build, you're looking at least $10,000 plus for appliances. So you have to factor that in. It's crazy how much money you really need to save and how much you have to get into the home. The other thing is, if you are buying a new build, you can't go pre-order all your appliances on a credit card, because that can stop you from your mortgage actually going through in the end. And a lot of times you do have to pre-order your appliances. So that's something that you have to work around. Once you own that home, anything could happen. The roof could leak, something could break, you could find out something that wasn't picked up in a home inspection, maybe you didn't even have a home inspection. Another thing I missed, when you are purchasing your house, you're likely gonna have a home inspection. That's about $800 added on as well. Make sure you factor that in. Sometimes the down payment isn't even the hardest part. It's everything that comes along after, all the things that you didn't expect you'd have to pay for. Have you ever heard anyone say, if your marriage can survive building a home, it can survive anything? Well, I think it's the exact same concept whether you're building or buying. It was honestly, for both, the most stressful experience. And as a realtor, I was the one obviously representing us. So I was dealing with the stress of being a first-time buyer, second-time buyer, so young, and being a realtor and representing us and dealing with everything for building a new home. I was the one that went out, and my husband was at work all week, so I was the one that mostly had to go out and pick out the flooring, the kitchen, and the lighting. Now, we did get to do a lot of stuff together, but it was a lot of thought on me, which I was honestly not prepared for. It's extremely time consuming, but no one talks about the stress that comes along with it. If you're someone that doesn't like money conversations, well, get used to it, because when you're buying a house, there's a lot of those. It's endless conversations about money and budgeting. Where's your money going? How you want to spend it? So important to be open with your spouse or whoever you're buying a home with about that. Decision fatigue. Oh my gosh, by the time you look at all the flooring, all the kitchen, or all the houses, whether you're doing a new build or you're looking at existing houses, sometimes you just feel so exhausted from decisions. So be prepared for that, because it's just so much thrown at you at once. The responsibility can feel heavy. It's a lot purchasing a house. I don't care if you're 21, 51, 91, it is a lot for anyone. It's a huge responsibility, it's a huge risk, and the thing is, you're gonna have so many people around you telling you what to do. My biggest advice is you have to make an educated decision between yourself and whoever you're purchasing the home with. Not saying don't listen to your family, but sometimes they truly don't know what's best for you. And if you're the one taking on the mortgage, you need to be sure. They always say date the rate, marry the house. When we purchased house number 1 back in October 2024, that's when the rates were so high. I think our rate was like 5.55%. It was really high. And I did have people in my life tell me, wait till the rates drop. And I'm so beyond happy I made my own educated decision on that, because our rate we went with a variable, not a fixed, so that it was able to go down, and it has gone down significantly. Every month, not every month, but every time they had an announcement, it was just going down, down, down. And I'm so happy I listened to myself and not anyone else, because now after that, then there was so much more bidding and competition. So I would have ended up paying more for a house, had a harder time getting a house, and paying more for it to have a little less of a rate. So I'm so glad I trusted my own gut with that and got the house anyways. So I highly recommend you make your own educated decision, because you're gonna have a lot of outside voices. Even better if you don't tell anyone until you are under contract and close to closing. I know people find it so hard to do that, but it's just better when you aren't influenced. As someone in real estate, I've seen people, especially my younger clients, that get very easily influenced, especially by parents. And I'm not saying not to seek outside, opinions, but sometimes you really need to focus yourself. The lifestyle trade-off, I feel like no one talks about when you are purchasing young. You have to make such a big lifestyle trade-off, and I think people don't realize that about us. I don't know what they think, but I don't think they've realized how much of a trade-off we've had. We haven't went on any trips since 2021. That's the last time we went on an out-of-province trip. We've never went out of country together. That's something for the future, but we were just so determined to get our 2 houses, to get our rental property and our current house, that we were able to do the trade-off. No upgrading vehicles. I'm driving the same car that I got in 2020. We are choosing equity over experiences right now. We are prioritizing, we were prioritizing getting in our house more than the extra experiences. Saying no to the normal 20s lifestyle. I know everyone has a different perspective, but I will boldly tell you, I think your 20s and 30s are for building, and later in life is for enjoying. I know so many people do that in reverse, and they enjoy their 20s. I hear so many people say, my 30s are for when I figure it out, buy a house, save money. I personally could not disagree more. I think your 20s are for building, and later in life is for enjoying it. Everyone has their own thoughts, curious yours. But that's what I think. Most people don't fail at buying young because they're broke. They fail because they don't want to live differently, and they don't want to have the sacrifices. I really don't think it's about having a huge job or making tons of money. It's truly about sacrifice. And if you're someone racking up your credit card, buying expensive vehicles, still going to Starbucks every day, and you're not making those little changes, that explains a lot. Here is the big mistakes that we made during this process. Underestimating maintenance. That washer that broke as soon as we got in the home, that's an extra $1,000 we were not expecting to spend. Maintenance can come from everywhere. We also realized that our bathtub was leaking it down to the basement floor. That they didn't pick up on the home inspection, so we had to get the bathtub fixed, and the people that did our home inspection were supposed to cover that, and they didn't. So that's another thing that happens. After purchasing young, both a new build and an existing house, here's what I would recommend for a first-time buyer. I would definitely recommend we have 2 apartment homes, and we always live upstairs, rent out the bottom, and that goes towards the mortgage. So I recommend that 100%. I personally do not recommend a new build home for purchasing your first house unless you are ready to pay the extra costs, like the appliances. That really adds up. The delays, you know, when you're doing a new build, it can be delayed months. It's a lot of extra stress. So I would typically avoid against it unless you are truly prepared for it. Would I still do it all over again? Yes, absolutely. It taught us so much about finances, all things money, being responsible, growing up, equity, stability, mortgage growth, and knowledge. And it's just taught us so much. So although you might feel like it's not in reach, I highly recommend it's something you work towards because I think it's the most rewarding thing you could do. If you found this video helpful, I'd love if you would like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.